So let's do a quick overview of network time protocol. So NTP is, imagine that, network time protocol. And it's really used to be able to provide a reference time sync for all network devices. Why is this important? Because it's very useful in correlating events when troubleshooting. Having a reference time means that you can correlate what's happening at a particular time so that you can then figure out what's going on. You can follow a chain of events. A lot of troubleshooting is really trying to look at what's happening and what's happening in a sequence to be able to figure out where the actual issue is coming from. So having that correct time, either being synced to an internal clock or an external time source is very important to be able to facilitate troubleshooting. So there's a number of different ways where you can sync your time. You can sync your time to a local master clock. So say for instance you have a clock device that you want to have be the master for your entire organization. You can set that as a local master clock. You can also get time synced from the internet. So there's atomic clocks that are sitting out on the internet. There's NTP servers that you can use for free and be able to get access to those time clocks to make sure your devices are synced. You also can pull time from GPS, where you can actually get the time sync from the GPS satellites, or you can get it from an atomic clock. Again, if you've got your own atomic clock, you're in a different league as far as a business goes. But it's not uncommon that some large organizations will have a very high level capability for providing that time sync. So as we talked about in the previous lesson, it's important to understand that time zones and being able to account for time zones is vitally important. So you always want to use a consistent NTP source for all infrastructure components, and being able to have a consistent time zone is important. So if you are not in a particular, if all of your devices are not in one particular time zone, then you're going to probably want to use universal time. And that's going to allow you to be able to have that consistent time regardless of where your devices are in the globe. So configuring NTP. NTP follows a very structured hierarchy. One device can be a time server for another in a client-server model. So it's a very simple process. Any device can be a time server. Now there's different levels of reliability, and that's where we get into a term called stratum levels. So within NTP, a stratum level is a ranking of the quality, i.e. the accuracy of a time source. So you can have a stratum level from 0 to 16. The lower, the better. NTP clients will prefer a time sync with that lowest stratum server. NTP operates over UDP port 123, and UDP is a best effort type of protocol. So it's not a direct connection where there's a lot of information that needs to be sent back and forth. There's not a syncing process with it outside of being able to just receive the UDP packet, analyzing it, and being able to leverage it there. So NTP is a very simple protocol, and it's one that is very common and commonly used today in network infrastructure. So in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to configure NTP, or Network Time Protocol, for UCS Director. Now, within UCS Director, when you first configure the virtual machine, when it first boots up, you go through a guided setup. That is typically where you're going to configure NTP, or your time protocol. In order to be able to go back and make a change, say you've got a situation where your NTP server changed IP addresses, or you get a new server that you'd like to sync to, you have to go back through guided setup. So that can be found in the administration tab under, imagine that, guided setup. We want to go to initial system configuration and set application preferences. And then from here, we'll be able to use the last session that we use. So we can start new, where we can do the entire process, or we can continue from a save state. So I'm going to go ahead and click that one, and then we're going to go back, and then we're going to select up here to NTP server. So here we have an NTP server that's currently configured. So you can see here I have 198.18.128.1. So this is the one that was configured when it was first brought online. Now, if I want to be able to add another NTP server, we can go in and actually modify the settings here. So how do I add it? It's as simple as typing it in on a separate line. So if I have a new one that I want to put in for backup, 128.2, That's all I pretty much need to do at that point. And I just click Next, and it will then save those characteristics. So it'll look to see if it's out there. You can see that the message is configured. Everything's good to go. And then all the different servers are currently in place. So life is good. So after that, I go through and I finish, and then I hit close, and now I have configured NTP and modified the NTP servers within UCS Director.